Welcome everyone to Comics From The Multiverse, episode 338. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up, people?
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and we talk about the books we read this week. It is a very weird, quiet week. We're later this week due to circumstances, and it's going to be a short-air episode. I said that weird. Because we only have 4 books that we're going to be discussing. And those are Batman issue 131, Gotham City Year 1 issue 4, Poison Ivy issue 8, and Darkness of Steel issue... That's not 4, we're way higher than that. Yeah. I've written down the wrong number. 9, I believe.
I believe we're on 9.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what's happening today. But do not despair if you feel shortchanged by the length of this episode. And I'm saying that now. I'm jinxing us into talking nonsense for like 90 minutes before we even start talking about the comics now. But we have the annual episode coming, and the first thing I would like to say at the start of this episode really is to tell you all to go vote on the end of year awards for the viewers' choice section. The form's been up for a little bit this week. So the results are already kind of interesting, but there'll be a link in the description of this episode. You only have maybe a couple days once this episode goes out to vote. So if you haven't, and you're hearing about it now, listening to this episode, rush over and submit your answers into the Google voting form. But you can get it in the description below. You can get the link on the Discord, on the Twitter, all these places. But make sure you go vote, and we'll have some audience winners alongside whatever we decide on the annual episode, which is coming before the next regular episode. So look forward to that. Annual number 6, I think we're on.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking for this on Twitter. Where'd you tweet it from?
Our Twitter at DC Comics Podcast.
Okay, I was looking at the Mild Fuzz one, and I was like, I don't see it. So
we have a dedicated comics podcast.
Yes, I know. And then I went to yours because it was right there, and I didn't see it. So found it. Gonna retweet it.
Well, that was thrilling.
It was. Well, it's also delaying the inevitable.
Yes, welcome to the show, everyone. Inevitable? What inevitable are you talking about?
You know what inevitable I'm talking about.
I can't think of...
Okay, then I'm not going to say it.
I can't think of one inevitability. Yeah. I can't think of, say, 10 inevitabilities.
Yeah. Well, the one thing inevitable was I went to a hockey game, and and finally got to see the Ducks at the pond, and saw a fight and a power play goal, and they won in overtime, and it was great. So got a little bit worried because my brother has not, every game we've been to, the team that we've been rooting for has lost. And fortunately it didn't happen this time. So we were good. It got a little dicey in the first 5 minutes because the Ducks gave up 2 quick goals. And I looked at him and went, maybe we should leave. Right? Let's spare everybody. But no, they held on. Very good young team. They'll be playoff bound in the next couple of years. But yeah. But best part, seeing a fight in person. That's the hockey I like. Plenty of quacking. I refrained myself from yelling flying V, because apparently that's frowned upon. But yes.
I'm sorry, I zoned out while you started talking about hockey.
Yeah, but I figured the Ducks would bring you in, Pete. You like those movies. You know?
Yeah, but I don't care about actual ice hockey.
Minnesota Miracle Man.
Yeah, who they had to drop for season 2 of the show because he refused to get vaccinated.
Yep. That's all right. I hope that they pull the old sitcom trope of the long lost brother or cousin, and it's whoever Dumel's playing, it's so and so.
It's just a shit. Either because he said no or because he was busy. But Joshua Jackson's right there to replace him, and we got
and they kept referencing Charlie in that first season of Game Changers. And I was like, oh, he'll be here. And then, no spoilers, nothing. Charlie never really shows up.
No. Joshua Jackson's too busy doing some other TV show or something. I don't know what he's doing. But, yeah, he never showed up in Game Changers. But yes, there's always time for a Comixology top 10. Well, technically, asterisks on this one. Because there wasn't enough books out on Tuesday for it to be 10.
Yeah.
So it's not actually 10 for Tuesday. There'll be 10 for the Wednesday numbers, which we'll look at as well. But as always, looking at Tuesday first, because that's just how Comixology splits them up. So what do you think is the number one selling book as of right now on Comixology for the DC books?
I'm gonna guess Batman.
You're right, it is Batman. That was uneventful. Number 2 is Dark Knights of Steel. Number 3 is Gotham City Year 1, which is kind of the 3 main books, really. And then you've got number 4 is The Joker, The Man Who Stopped Laughing. Number 5 is Poison Ivy. And then number 6 is Sword of Azrael. I hope Sword of Azrael enjoys being at number 6, because it's never going to be that high in any other circumstance, and there's just no other books. In fact,
ouch. There's
so little books that the next entry is not a DC book. It is... I'm actually clicking it to check what it seems to be. It's some Star Wars book. It's called Star Wars Tales from the Rancor Pit. Is this a trade or something?
Not a clue.
I have no idea. But
I'm gonna look, though.
It doesn't look like it's one of the modern Star Wars comics, so it looks maybe like an older...
Like a collection of the old Dark Horse stories.
Oh, yeah, it is a Dark Horse. Yeah, it's Dark Horse that's published it. Yeah. So it's not even Marvel that put it out. So that's number 7. And then number 8 is Monkey Prince, Volume 1. Trade. There wasn't an issue of that this week. That's the trade. And then number 9, the final book for Tuesday, is Batman Night Watch. So there were 6 DC single issues that came out. And they were 1 through 6. There's really not a whole lot to say about that. It was a quiet week. They didn't release a whole lot. It is what it is. So...
so real quick, that Star Wars book that's all new stuff, but it's put up by Dark Horse, but they're like Halloween specials, essentially. So they're Star Wars spooky stories. So they were released back in November, which if they're spooky stories, why did they put it out in November? But
wait, that's weird though. Why are Dark Horse still publishing Star Wars stuff? What?
I think as long as it's not in continuity stuff, I think it's like a Legends thing.
Okay.
So
I didn't realize they were publishing any, but
yeah, it says they were published in November of 2022. Let me double check. Yep, November 23rd, 2022, and then it dropped in bookstores on January 3rd. So
okay,
yeah,
weird, but fair enough. Wednesday was much more happening. Marvel put out a lot of books. So, do you have any guesses to what number 1 is from the Wednesday books?
X-Men Red number 10.
That is correct, actually. You seem very confident there. Very suspiciously confident.
No, just because it was the first X book and it was pretty high up on the Comic Geeks. So
okay.
Yeah.
Second book is Scarlet Witch issue 1. This is Steve Orlando writing this.
Yeah. It's got a great cover. I'll say that much.
Well, there's a redhead lady on a cover, so Matt likes it. What a shot.
Sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry.
You're a parody of yourself.
I know.
Number 3 is Fantastic Four issue 3. Number 4 is Avengers 64. Number 5 is X-Force 36. Has Percy always been writing that?
I think for a minute, I think.
I don't remember him being the writer on that, but fair enough. Number 6 is Marauders issue 10. So 2 Steve Orlando books in the Marvel Top 10 this week. And then Spider-Man issue 4 comes in at number 7. That's the Dan Slott and Mark Bagley book. And then number 8, we actually have a non-Marvel book, Star Trek issue 3. That's Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, so we're used to them being fill-ins on DC.
Yeah.
Number 9 is Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty.
Yep.
And then number 10 is Captain Marvel issue 45, which is still Kelly Thompson, so good for her that that's still going. I mean, admittedly, I did take her Captain Marvel book back when I was up to date with reading Marvel stuff. Out of the 2 or 3 books she was writing at the time, I did think it was the least special.
Yeah.
And I like Kelly Thompson a lot, but I'm close. That said, I'm still glad it's running and it's been a long running series. So that is cool. And apparently this new Secret Invasion book's not doing that well because issue 3 is number 11, and I feel like a book called Secret Invasion you would think would be doing quite well given the name value and what it's like kind of a new version of. But Hey ho. Other standouts. It's kind of not too far after that. There's a Joe Fixit issue 1 by Peter David. There's a Sonic the Hedgehog issue. Star Wars issue 30 is 15. Yeah, Star Wars doesn't sell as high on Comixology anymore.
Not like it did.
Oh.
But why does Luke have a yellow lightsaber here? I needs to know.
I really don't know. I really don't care. Would be is the honest answer.
I'm gonna have to put in a message to my Star Wars expert, not Connor. Is Connor okay? I haven't even seen him on Twitter.
He's away off to Iceland.
Yeah, I know, but like, did he fall into a volcanic thing? Like, is he okay?
If you been spying on my dreams, Matt.
No, not really. I just, look, if anyone's gonna fall into a geothermal vent on accident, it's Connor, right?
Or if anyone's girlfriend's going to push their boyfriend intentionally into a volcano and make it look like an accident.
I could just go. Wait, why is there only one return ticket?
A volcanic eruption happened in Iceland, which is not particularly notable because it's Iceland. Nope. But what is strange on this particular volcanic eruption is there seems to be little puffs of ginger hair just in the ash falling down with it.
Oh my god, it actually wouldn't kill him, it would just make him stronger. He's like Doomsday.
Oh dear, but as you come, it's all the top 10. Yeah. So yeah. Not enough DC books to actually make the Tuesday books the top 10 per se, but hey, yeah. we'll take it. So there you go. That is that. Yeah. There's not like really any comic specific news. There's a few movie and TV things that are probably worth just mentioning slightly. So James Gunn apparently does a 3-year plan for this new start of the DC movie universe or whatever. And he's also apparently started writing an unannounced TV show. So not Punisher, Peacemaker, not Peacemaker season 2. Although I'm assuming he's done that already, or he is doing that. But
right.
he mentioned he was writing an unannounced TV show, amongst other things. So yeah, we can't really speculate on just that. Like it could be anything, really. But shows that he's still involved in a TV show at least. And then the other thing, which is less important now, that The Rock had to admit that Black Adam isn't going to be a part of this new movie universe and all that stuff. But there was a bit of a report of Variety this week, along with like this 3-year plan news, that in April when the changing over was happening at Warner Brothers and Zaslav was the one kind of been put in charge, The Rock personally went and pitched like his own plan for the DC universe.
Oh, buddy, and I bet you he's going over.
And it was going to be, intertwining things, building up to Superman versus Black Adam. Not Captain Marvel / Shazam versus Black Adam. Superman versus Black Adam. And apparently he went around multiple like people at Warner Brothers and pitched this and tried to smooth talk it into existence. And the article just says that it ruffled feathers internally.
Oh man,
I love that even though he's been out of the wrestling business really for a long ass time, barring a few special appearances, he's acting like a wrestler, politicking.
Dude, it's in his blood, both sides.
Oh.
So well, and I'm wondering that it's probably similar to how he got Hobbs and Shaw, right? Like, I'm sure this has worked for him in the past.
Oh, probably, yeah. And that's getting a sequel, so it must have done well enough that he's...
Well, and then that's the thing. Black Adam just didn't do well, and he just has to, go to one of his other franchises that he has. Because at this point, I'm much more interested in Hobbs and Shaw 2 than Fast X or whatever they're calling it. And I say that as someone that has seen every Fast movie except Tokyo Drift in the theater. So,
Well, I don't really, but
yeah,
I will take your word for it. Dear. Although whatever one of those I've not seen, I'll see over the next year and a half because I need to do them all on the movie show.
What's the last one you remember seeing?
I saw 6, 7, and 8. I think.
Okay.
I didn't see 9. I haven't seen 4 or 5 or 3. I only saw half of 2 actually. That I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, 9's rough. It's okay, but it's too self-aware at points. 8 was rough as well. But I really like 4, 5, and 6. Those make a nice little trilogy. 5 especially. It's a heist movie. So
yes.
But yeah, I think you're the one that pointed out. Don't forget that these movies started with them stealing DVD players.
Yep, off a truck. That was the premise. It was a Point Break ripoff, just with speed racing
Cars.
instead of surfing. But more important movie news, Matt. 1.7 billion is the current standing for Avatar: Way of Water.
Good. That's good.
So we're 100 million away from the original Titanic score. I say original because it got re-released a decade ago and added another couple of 100 million to its total. But yeah, so 2 billion's a lot, baby. It's happening.
Yep.
Okay. I don't really have any other fancy news for you.
Yeah, nothing.
It was basically The Rock tried to politic his way to make Black Adam the main centerpiece of the entire DC universe.
And you know what's funny is it tells me the difference between him and Cena, where Cena's fine just playing this oddball peacemaker. You know, I can tell you he's not phoning up James Gunn and be like, hey, let's get Superman in here. But The Rock's got to go over at Mania, right?
Well, The Rock's a bigger star in the movie world, so he thinks he can go further, I guess. Yeah,
but at the same time, I just look at Cena's resume versus The Rock's resume at this point, and I just feel like Cena's politicking better, right? Because he's not taking bigger swings.
I don't know if you're asking who the best wrestler or actor is. I think Batista's got a horse in that race.
We're not talking about that because Batista is he's taking the little oddball roles and just killing with them. Him and Glass Onion,
Yeah. Even a small role in the second Blade Runner movie. He was saying, he confirmed that Guardians 3 was his last Marvel movie, and part of the reason why is because he wants to do more. He wants to be a good actor. He wants to do more serious roles, and the hints that he's given of doing that do seem pretty strong. Obviously he's in crap like Army of the Dead as well, and it's hard to judge anything, but
paycheck's a paycheck. When you're built like him, you do the actiony stuff, right? Like you can be henchman or comic relief, big guy.
That said, though, he is buddies with James Gunn, so don't be surprised if he shows up as Bane or something.
Don't do that to me. Don't give me hope. He'd be great as Bane. Play the cerebral version too, like in the comics, not just the smashy Bane we've gotten before, or henchman Bane. So, man, yeah, that's actually a good idea. Now I'm sad. We're probably not getting that. I'm trying to think what other characters could he play in DC? I'm trying to think of the heroes. No one comes off the top of my head real quick.
I don't know. Someone built.
Yeah.
But more built than like a Superman. I don't know.
Batista is Kilowog.
I mean, if he wants to go full mocap and alien suit and all that, sure.
Yeah.
Although he probably doesn't want to wear makeup again. He's probably sick of wearing that damn Drax makeup, so he'd probably want to. I don't know. No
one's ringing a bell right now. I'll do some thinking. I'll come up with some next week.
Yes, I'm sure everyone's waiting with bated breath to find out
sure they are.
Who Matt would cast Batista in the DC universe as.
Batista is Perry White.
I mean, it's a left of field choice, but I can see him sitting there with his cardigan and his glasses on.
Just him yelling at Clark would be a whole different thing. It'd be this quiet, disappointed type thing. I think you do it.
I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about comics, shall we?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's get into it. All right. Batman, issue 131. Chip Zdarsky writing with Mike Hawthorne on the art. So we're on to a new arc, got a new artist. This is... So we ended the last issue with Batman kind of being Rorschach, like the end of Watchmen. And obviously we assumed he's not dead. He's went somewhere. Where could he have went? And this issue is very much about, okay, he's in either another Earth, which is the most likely explanation that he himself in the book kind of thinks. There's also a possibility here this is like just like a world that was created for him to like experience this, as opposed to being literally another Earth. You know, there's so many like elements of it that feel like this is about like this is a world that was created for his head to be in. You know? Yeah,
it feels like a Black Mercy story almost.
Yeah. I'm getting kind of now. If it could be both. It could be like, oh no, he gets sent to this Earth because this Earth fit the bill for what, you know, Failsafe wanted for him. But
yeah, because this is post Infinite Crisis at this point, or not Infinite, the
Dark Crisis.
Dark Crisis.
I can see it left such an impression on you, Matt, that even though we're less than a month after the final issue, you can't remember the goddamn title of it.
Yeah. But this is after, and there is a new status quo when it comes to the Infinite Earths, right? So this, and the way that they played with hyper time and you know, different parallel, you know, like we had in the Flashpoint Beyond, right? Where they explained how the Flashpoint place can still exist, even though it's not one of the 52 worlds. It's because it's a parallel of one of the Earths. This could easily be one of those two, you know. How to get there is the one thing, which the backup kind of gets into. But definitely left me a little bit confused as I was reading, you know, and not in a bad way, just like okay, what's going on? You know, what's Judge Dent about? What's this, you know, this Jimbo that's talking to him?
Well, I wasn't confused, I would say, in the sense that, okay, we're on a different Earth, so, you know, everything can be different, everything can be whatever. But before we get into all the details, though, I just, like, my general feeling reading this issue was kind of like, it's funny how Zdarsky's kept doing this, but for most of the issue, I was kind of down on it. And it's not because what's there is bad. It's more just that I was like, this is our next arc. We're going to be in an alternate Earth with Batman on his own with a bunch of weird versions of other characters. You know, this is the next... I wasn't like, do I like this concept? Do I like that we're doing this as the next story arc? And I really wasn't sure. And then the final page kind of like... I don't know if it completely sold me on it, but I was like, you know what? Okay, I get the beat that he's playing here. And I can maybe appreciate where this is going to go and what this is maybe going to do for Batman's like arc in the story as a character.
He's definitely getting into Batman's psyche, right? Like these are both of these so far that we've read from Zdarsky. I'm going to count the Zernar stuff from the backup that I read. It's very much about what about Gotham makes Bruce Batman, and here what is Gotham without Batman? Like what does that look like? And not like just without his presence, because you feel like there's no Robins, there's no, you know, everything's slightly off. And is that Gotham better or worse?
Yeah,
you know,
I think maybe my reaction early on is to be like, I don't know if I want this. I think it's just because we do alternate versions of worlds and comics so often, and DC especially do it a lot, and we've been reading so many Elseworlds recently of DC versus vampires. This week we got Dark Knights of Steel. The Cease's been going on for a few years, that I just kind of felt like, can I be bothered learning about another version of Gotham again? Like, you know, just there's so many of these things.
Well, it's not just a different version of Gotham, it's just a version without Batman, which we've seen a bunch too, you know. So
yeah, it's just, you know, it's just one of those things. Much like the occupation of Gotham in the last arc, it was like, Zdarsky, have done this so many times recently. I don't want this part of the story.
But I will give him a point on the fact that he is kind of examining who Bruce Wayne is in a way that we don't really get in these type of stories. You know, like a lot of the occupation stuff with Failsafe, we kind of, you know, sometimes it was a point to do of because Batman in a fun way, but you know, where we've been in Bruce's head through Zdarsky's run, and here we're getting more of that. So at least he's experimenting with what it means to be Batman and what it means to Bruce, and I do feel like Bruce will be changed by the end of this. Like we will get a little bit of a different Bruce than what we've had, and that even goes hand in hand with what Ram V's doing over in Tech, because we feel like that's a whole different version of Bruce as well. So as long as it doesn't feel too much like editorial, because that was the other thing is I feel like he's being able to tell the stories. It's almost like Tech is kind of the main book right now, and this feels like not a sideways or whatever, but like Zdarsky can do this. Let's go off in the main Batman book to a different Earth, because Ram V is doing the stuff that he is with Gotham in that book. But it feels wholly Zdarsky so far. I would say it's not like I don't feel like this was an editorial mandate.
Yeah, it feels to me like just conceptually he keeps doing things that I just don't want him to do. For the plot ideas, even if there's definitely been value in some of the issues. I think the worst part of the failsafe stuff was the last couple issues of it. So unfortunately, I don't know if I'd say it stuck the landing. Whereas here we'll see how it goes, and there's some interesting elements here. The idea that Bruce doesn't have to hide his identity because he doesn't exist here, so who gives a shit? He's got like a skeleton version of Jim Gordon talking to him who can hear his narration, like his thoughts, which definitely implies that no one else can see him and that he's just in Batman's head. This is just like a imaginary friend in his head that's commenting on everything as he's doing it. And he spends most of the issues ignoring him, but he's just, the skeleton Jim Gordon's just there, wisecracking and giving his comments throughout.
It felt very fifth dimensional to me too. Like he felt a little bit like one of the imps. So not saying that he is or not, but there was some of that fourth wall breaking kind of stuff where Jimbo's commenting on what Bruce is seeing, in a meta type way, which is kind of nice. And that's what I mean by confused. Maybe that's not the word I'm looking for, but like there's a lot going on that I can't really piece. And I think that makes it fun to read, at least. Like I wasn't expecting a skeleton Jim Gordon, in this Earth.
Yeah, so we get like a sort of the harsh police force in this world where Harvey Dent is this sort of venom-fueled, muscly version who walks around in an outfit that's very he looks like a Resident Evil villain, actually. He looks a lot like Nemesis or Mr. X walking around in this big coat. But he calls himself Judge Dent, and think Judge Dredd, except more evil, or...
He's lawful evil, not lawful good.
Yeah, so he's basically storming in with guns, and people are screaming and begging for forgiveness, and Bruce hears the screams and comes in and fights him, and is like, wait, this is Harvey. Oh, he's got venom in him. I can kind of deal with that. Oh no, his weaknesses that I expect to be in like a Bane aren't there. This is a different kind of venom, and so we get this is the big action scene in the middle of the issue.
Well, there's that, and too, I just want on Judge Dent, like I think it's a cool look too. How he has half of his face painted, so we still get the Two-Face vibe, but it's just slightly off. So I thought it was a fun little twist on the character.
Yeah, this is basically, because obviously the final point of this issue when he is... Because it's a whole thing with the place starts to... They start a fire by accident, and this kid ends up helping Bruce escape with some throwing knives. And she takes him back to like a safe place or whatever. And when they're there, this is the sort of the end of the book. There's the final sort of point and beat is that he realizes maybe Zur-En-Arrh, or Failsafe rather, sent him here because this is a Gotham that needs him that he can save, and that he can do some good here. And I think the whole idea of like this Judge Dent walking around as like a judge, jury, and executioner style character. It feels like a more dystopian version of Gotham, even if it's not technically set in the future. This feels like the sort of thing where you're watching like a movie or reading a story where you're in the future, and the police state have gotten so much more powerful, and they're more fascist in how they act, and they can just shoot you on sight and that kind of stuff. The idea that Batman's, ever since the 80s, like we've thought of Gotham as this corrupt city. Part of the reason why we accept Batman as this like sort of illegal vigilante is because the system is so corrupt and broken that it needs an outside force to actually deal with it. So the idea to like put them into a more extreme version of that, where it's not just that they're like on the take and they're doing dodgy things on the quiet. This is no, the system has gotten to it where it's openly abusive. It's openly hunting people down, like we're in Fahrenheit 451 meets Judge Dredd meets something else. So like I appreciate that final beat. That final beat of that maybe this is a version of Gotham that needs me. Is like, okay, that's a nice idea. Although I have skipped over a whole scene here where Selina Kyle and a mysterious person in a red mask and a white cape. I mean, my guess is Alfred right now for some reason. That's just where my mind went to.
Well, there were mentions that because it's not Red Hood, right?
No, they said something else. He's got a different name here. Because Selina's on the phone about it, talking about Penguin to this guy in this red mask, and the guy in the red mask says, "Hey, I've got a new priority for you." And there's a photo of Bruce from the apartment building where he was like fighting Den. So he's gained interest from the. I don't know if this is the crime families or whatever, but this guy in the red mask says, Bruce, I've been waiting for you. And I immediately just basically because of like his size, structure, and the idea that he's been waiting for Bruce just made me think it was Alfred. This was this Earth's Alfred, but I have no idea. Like it's just a guess. It looks like he's experimenting on like inmates at Arkham or something like that.
Yeah.
Different meta because they've got different things going on. Like one's got like a red chest and it looks like they've got whatever, and then there's another one that's got like sort of like blue heat vision coming from his eyes. But these patients are all strapped to tables like behind him, so it looks like he's up to all sorts. Yeah,
they call him Red Mask, right? That's so it's kind of like a Red Hood Black Mask combo.
I mean, I suppose it could be the Jason Todd of this world, but
but why does he know who Bruce is, right? Like,
well, that's why I'm thinking it's Alfred, because I'm thinking if Bruce did exist here and died at a young age, they don't confirm any of this in this issue. Bruce just assumes that I'm dead here, like I don't exist here anymore. So it would make sense that whoever recognizes him and knows who Bruce is would be someone who knew him earlier on in his life,
right?
So my mind went to Alfred,
or Bruce just never came back to Gotham, right? Like maybe he did die in his training, and this is,
oh sure,
I don't know, something along those lines.
He went off to train to become Batman, but failed.
And he never came back, right? So, I'm
sure
someone that is familiar with Bruce.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, if nothing else, this is definitely going to answer what happened to the Bruce of this Earth. Like, there's no way that's not coming up
for sure.
So
for sure.
So we'll see. It was obviously a well enough written issue. I think the art, obviously, Jimenez is great, so it's just kind of a shame to lose him. But the art here is solid. It's not bad art at all.
Yeah, no. I mean, compared to Jimenez, it feels like a little bit of a drop, but it's not like.
If it was a little more house style, I guess. It would be the way I'd put it.
It's perfectly readable. There's nothing, I don't have issues with faces or proportions or any of that type of stuff.
No,
the skeleton. The skeleton Gordon looks really cool.
And the action throws well enough. The whole jumping out the window with the girl who saved him as the fire's raging on. Like the sequence in there is all pretty solid. I can't really fault the action sequence in this at all, and I think the coloring is generally quite good. It makes each scene feel like it's in a distinct place. The last scene is bathed in the sort of the warm glow of the street lights of the night city. Obviously, the streets themselves feel a bit colder and blue and purple. Everything feels distinct. Everything sort of separates nicely. It's just not as good as Jimenez or sticks out as much.
Right.
So
I also like, now that we're looking at the coloring and stuff, when we get to the Selina scene, it feels like very washed out in that fluorescent light. It gives it that kind of, sickishly green kind of vibe. So I like that.
Which maybe presents the idea that the Selina in this world is not in a happy place. Like, this is, the position she's in as part of this crime family or whatever she's involved in, things aren't quite right. So one of the people whose lives are inevitably going to improve when Batman saves this version of Gotham is probably hers. Although not that I think she's going to be like anything close to an ally to begin with, because it feels like she's, tasked with hunting them down, or at least spying on them. So, yeah, this Batman run's been such a weird thing for me so far, because I keep having things that I don't conceptually like about it, but it keeps kind of winning me over until it didn't, and towards the end of that last arc. So we'll see what it does with this one. I really don't know. Not that we're done yet, because we do have the backup, which is also by Zdarsky, but it's Miguel Medoncha on the art and the backup, and it's basically it's following Tim. Tim Drake, as he's like dealing with the fact that Batman's gone, and he's determined to try and figure out a way to bring him back and help him. He helps Nightwing deal with some Joker henchmen who are sort of like just out for themselves. Yeah, and it's the same thing that always comes up when Batman's like gone for some reason, is that all the lowlifes like they hear a rumor and they think, oh, now's our chance, now's our time to like do something. Yeah. So the Robins deal with it, and it's basically just this idea that Dick's like, look, obviously we were all sad that Batman's gone, but I kind of trust that Batman will find his way back, because he always does.
He's done this before, is the whole thing. That's what I like, that Dick is like, there's a way, and I just like that he has, like a faith in Bruce.
Yeah. But Tim's thing is that no, he's been acting different recently. He's been struggling. I think he needs my help, so I'm going to try and help him. And it teases that the Toyman, who's committed suicide, built the gun that sent him to this other Earth or wherever he went. And again, the fact that it's Toyman, it maybe further fuels the fire that it's not a real other Earth, and it's more just like a creation, because he creates things. Admittedly, he hasn't in the past created like worlds that feel real, but it would fit the idea that these are all toys in a toy box or something,
Yeah, because at the opening, there's a tease of Toyman where he says, he breathes, there's no Superman, no Arkham, no doctors trying to make names with their ludicrous diagnoses. And all of this, and,
which suggests that Superman also doesn't exist in this world.
They're toys for everything, and he's their god. And then we don't get really back to any of that. And we get, the John and Tim interacting, and then we get back towards the end where we have like is that John there, where it says next Toy Soldiers, with like, is that a mannequin? Like, what is that? Like, it's weird, but that's the next Toyman, because it looks like he's in the fortress, because Toyman killed himself, but he left some clues.
This is John. So, like, I assume this is like one of Toyman's like toys,
replicas.
If I was to guess based on that panel alone and the dialogue, maybe he's left some clues. Is that maybe this is going to be like they're going to talk to one of his toys who can maybe give them some information, because like he'll know some basic facts or something. That'd be my guess.
But that's the only thing that gets us back to Toyman from there. There's no like thread going through, but it is really about Tim, and I do like that. I like that we're getting the focus, and Tim almost has a Bruce like obsession with getting Bruce back.
I do think Zdarsky writing the backup right now and it being set in the real world, or the real Gotham, whilst the main story's in this alternate Gotham, is a smart move, because it means you still get to keep tabs on what's going on, and it still feels like it's part and connected to the real world. Because one of the problems with you send a character off to another Earth for like an arc is it can just feel a little bit like this could be skippable. Like you might be able to just come back after this, and it would be like you never missed it. So this makes it tethered a little bit, which I think is smart. All right, Matt, what are you giving Batman 131?
So I'll give the main story a 7, the backup a 7.5. So I'll round down and give the whole issue a 7.
Yeah, I'll just rate the whole issue. I'll give it a 7 as well. I do think it's good. I think it's well written. I think the art's solid enough, and I like the point that it seems to be trying to make in this story by the time I got to the end. But I do have some misgivings about doing an alternate Earth, doing an alternate Gotham. Like, I feel like we do this a lot, and I can't help get that out of my head a little bit. So I'll give it a 7, because it's not bad by any means. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Gotham City Year 1 Issue 4, Tom King writing with Phil Hester on the art. So obviously we had the shocking discovery of the baby, the dead baby at that, last issue. And this one starts off with Slam once again in the police station being beat to shit.
This 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 issue is Slam gets beaten up.
Yes, there's a lot of
that. Yeah, hooey.
Yeah, so this time the commissioner himself comes down and beats the crap out of him, which is seen as an honor.
and here's the thing, and he hints that you know, this is what happens to people in the police station. You know, if it's you know, if it's a homicide, usually the detective will come and try to beat out of people. It's very rare for the commissioner to come down. But even Slam's like, he understands why, because from the police perspective, he messed up their investigation. You know, so of course the commissioner has to come and try to clean up the mess that Slam made. So I did like, you know, seeing how reasonable, you know, he takes his lumps and he doesn't really fight back. He just wants to, you know, do what he needs to do to have it end.
Oh well, he explains kind of why he doesn't bother fighting back later, which is there's no point, because if he takes out a couple of cops, there'll just be 20 more to beat the shit out of him. He'll never succeed. But it's worth mentioning that the reason why they're beating him up is because he obviously contacted the police when he finds the dead baby in the last issue, and that they now know that he was working for the Waynes, and that he was, you know, they kind of know the truth of everything he was hiding when they were interrogating him last time, and now they blame him for having the baby. You know, it's his fault that the baby turned up dead. If he'd come to them, if he'd actually played by their rules, everything would have turned out okay. I mean, I suspect it may not have, but that's what they think.
Yeah, I mean, we're still not even certain that's the actual baby, right? We're just being told that it was. Especially by the end of the issue, I kind of feel like there's a lot more at play going on here.
Yeah. So Slam gets bailed out by Richard Wayne, who then wants to see him. And he's being all casual and just asking to clear up details at first, until he then blames Slam. He reveals that he blames Slam because of him going off to investigate without him knowing. Now, we know that his wife, Mrs. Wayne, hired him to go looking after the fact, but to Slam's credit, he doesn't fess up, even when Richard Wayne smashes a glass in his face and starts beating the shit out of him.
It's until that you know, Slam is trying to reason with them, and Richard Wayne smacks him. Then Slam's like, all right, I'm done being smacked around today, dude.
Yeah, well, this is where he explains in his narration why he didn't bother fighting back in the police station. Yeah. But there's only like 3 guys here. He can take 3 guys.
I can't take 15, but three's not a problem. Yeah, I love that. I love that piece of narration there. And you just see him take him out, and he explains, you know, this guy used to be a boxer. He can tell by the cauliflower ear and the way that he stands, and that he hits him with an uppercut, and you know, his teeth go flying because boxers wear a mouthpiece when they train, and they get so reliant on it. And you know, Slam knows that about him, so you know, he's able to use his weight against him, and then he gets the gun from the other guy, and then mentions that, you know, his kill count in Korea was 137. And
well, you have to add some context for that last part, because there's a standoff where you know, the guy he knows here that brought him in initially has got him at gunpoint, and you know, Richard Wayne's hiding behind him, and at this point Slam's just like, you know, I'm going to walk out of here, and he's like, wait, we're just going to let you go. He's like, yeah, because my kill count's 137. You know, when I was in Korea,
as a sniper.
Yeah, and
he's got a gun trained on Richard Wayne. And
the guy he knows, you know, the head of security or whoever, he just lets him go, and Richard's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm saving your life." Yeah, because
he's like, "I'm doing what you pay me for, sir, and that's saving your life."
Yeah. So he knows that Slam, like, even if he takes Slam out instantly after, because obviously he's got a gun on him, like, he will not save Richard Wayne if they continue this. So,
such a tensely, you know, it was a well done tense scene.
Yeah, it's kind of like Slam's becoming a bit unhinged, because now it's like, well, now I've got no reason to like play nice. Now I've got no reason to put up with this shit. But then he's back at his place, nursing his wounds, and that's when Mrs. Wayne shows up and smooches him because she just wants to feel something. And
it's film noir to a T, right?
Oh yeah. The way it's shot you know what I mean. The way it's drawn.
Yeah. Well, so we get the where she comes in, right, and they're talking,
And she's wet from the rain. Let's not forget these little touches that are very noir.
Right. Sure. But I just want to say the art here with Hester is we get the page of them meeting, and then you turn the page when they kiss. It's those two kissing in the foreground, but the background is the page from before.
Yeah.
And so it's just I like that touch that really emphasizes this is a big deal. And there's other ways to do it, like with a blank background or other things. But I felt like him doing that art from the page before.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the confirmed continuity or canon of like Bruce's grandparents, but I'm getting a sneaking suspicion that not both of these are actually his grandparents, and that one of them remarries, and he comes from the new marriage. But not that I'm suggesting Slam's his actual grandfather. I'm not saying that.
I hope that's not where they're going, because
I don't think so.
There is a piece of dialogue where he says that he's 94, and he's been doing this long enough, and just the vibe there. I hope it's a red herring.
Then again, though, why would he? That would be a reason why he would want to tell Bruce this story before he dies. Yeah.
Yep.
There
was just a vibe I got from that where I was like, oh, please don't do this. To me, it's kind of lazy. Not that I don't think, because I think King could stick the landing, because it doesn't really change who Bruce is. Let's say this is true. It adds to him, like, genetically, this need to do the right thing, because it definitely feels like the Waynes are not so good people, at least Richard.
Yeah.
And that I forget their grandmother's name, or the supposed grandmother. Why
do you think I've been saying Mrs. Wayne?
Yeah. They haven't given us the name, have they? It has been Mrs. Wayne.
You're making me question that. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember. But so Mrs. Wayne, it feels like she comes from a different background, and that she seems like a very flawed person, but she's not like the same, like, kind of corrupt that Richard Wayne is. So, and again, I'm seeing owls on stuff, so I'm definitely feeling like maybe this isn't the same Wayne. Like it is a different marriage, because we don't know about their grandparents.
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's a little bit of like bonding as he's leaving to go off and do something at 1 a.m, but he's talking about how he had a half brother who died before he came back and stuff. But he kisses her and leaves. It turns out what he's doing is he's actually going to go beat the shit out of the commissioner in a case of revenge. What's interesting about it is that he does kind of admit that while obviously there's a lot of dodgy tactics with this police force, that the commissioner himself is not actually corrupt. He says that there's not an ounce of corruption in him. No. Outside of perhaps beating up.
Because it's the ends justify the means, right? Is that they're upholding law and order, and they might not be doing it exactly by the book, but they're not on the take, right? At least as far as the commissioner's concerned, they're not being paid to look the other way. They're just handling things extra legally.
I would still argue that there's corruption in general with like who they serve, with like who they discriminate against, stuff like that. But by this account, it doesn't sound like the commissioner is on the take. But he beats him with a bat so bad that he has to retire. We find out in the narration, and then there's actually sometimes they can be a little too coy with the prequely things where they reference something that we know from like main Batman lore or whatever. I actually quite like this one, which is admittedly at the end of the scene when he says, and they gave this a name, they called it Crime Alley. That's a bit on the nose for me, but I actually really like this idea earlier in the scene when I think this is when the commissioner's walking down at first and he's about to like hit him with a bat. He has a line that's something like in his narration that's like, this is like one of those dark places where like someone can just lose everything, or so the way he phrased it, it was like that can easily apply to like the Wayne's being murdered in an alley, just like he's about to
rule.
Yeah,
it to me it's it tied the birth of Gotham to Crime Alley like it was the birth of Batman, as they both were born in the same place. And so because he says Slam lets Bruce know that after this commissioner had to retire, that is where the Gotham police force, as we know it, really started to take hold.
Yeah, yeah. He says,
so
he
it
says,
was like Gotham was born anew.
He says crime got worse with that. But no, but even regardless of that, I think even just when he mentioned that, there was just a nice little tangible thematic link between, what Bruce lost in an alley and what can happen. Like, I don't know, it felt like it was a nice little link that wasn't too on the nose. When he actually named they eventually gave it a name, Crime Alley, I was like, oh, okay, all right, it's a bit more on the nose now, but whatever.
Well, and also the way that he gets the commissioner is this is where the sex workers are, and they go down different alleys, and the people that are the guys that are visiting them take different routes, so you're not suspected, and that's how he gets the drop on the commissioner. So intimating that that's where the commissioner was going, right?
Yeah.
Or coming back from, and that's why he's able to get the drop on him. And then it's such a place that like it kind of gets brushed under the rug why the commissioner was there.
Yeah,
so they don't talk about it.
They don't want to admit that he was down there for a sex worker.
And so it's all stuff that Slam has taken into account because he understands the city on a different level, right?
Yeah, and he even says this is like the one part of the book where when in his narration he actually sort of talks about more, like he actually mentions Bruce. He says you wouldn't have done it like this, you wouldn't have acted on this rage, you would have made it more of a fair fight, so on and so on.
You're honor bound, and that's how we're different. Yeah.
I will say, like, I get why it does this after, because it's called Gotham City Year One, so saying a bunch of street names is kind of like fitting into the theme of like establishing that this is the city, this is like us building the city.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like there's a whole page here where he's like saying, I went through this street, cut on the corner of that street, went to this street, and it's just name drop after name drop of like artists and writers of the past. Yeah. And it's just like, oh my god, this is like, I'm just going to read some of it. I just want to like,
go do it.
I want to read this page. I took Rogers to Roses, that's not how I say that one, and then cut over to Hamilton. I turned right on Moldov and then went left on Robbins and then merged onto Goodwin. Even at this hour, blah blah blah. I exited at Novik, turned left on Adams, rode all the way in Newton, and swung right into Giordano. I stayed right onto Wien, taken onto Toth, and then hanging left onto Staten, which dumped me off right onto Wolfman. Like, that is an absurd amount of names, to the point where I don't actually recognize all of them. I'm sure they're all prominent creators in Batman's past. I recognize like 2/3 of them.
Yeah. Well, there's Adams and Giordano and Ween, and a lot of the other ones feel very familiar as well. But it's just a lot. Like you could have given I could have done
I recognize
Main Street.
Yeah, Rogers is an artist. Yeah, I recognize Rogers.
So, but I don't know. I wish that King had mixed in like a Main Street or a South Street in there with them, so it didn't just feel like he was listing Batman creators.
Yeah, it did feel like a list, which is kind of why it stuck out to me. But when he gets home, Sue, the woman who hired him for the job in the first place, is there with a gun, and we get this confrontation where she's like, I had nothing to do with the death of that kid. I didn't know that's what was at my uncle's place that you found. And if I had anything to do with it, I would have left already. But he takes the gun from her. Yeah, he grabs it out. A good bit of art here where the art colouring completely changes for that one panel where he snaps it out of her hand. And, what have you done? He's got her at gunpoint, and she has no reason to, well, all to save her life, I suppose, but she's got no reason to not just spill her guts out to him. And she says, you think I get any interest in any of this? I like the shiny things. Death is not my bag. This is all him. He's crazy like a bat. And then she says, F Richard Wayne, it's all his fault. And that's kind of the cliffhanger we leave on. Now, I like trying to piece together like how he's like behind this. Obviously, I don't think he wanted his child to be kidnapped or killed. Maybe the kidnapping was a staged thing to begin with, because it was him trying to. Because they mention in the book that. So
I was going to get to that.
On you go. You can split it.
I was saying, so basically, what he's using now is because of the death of his daughter. He's using this as something that the city can rally behind, and the as he opens a new factory, the south side of Gotham.
Yeah, because the community's been against
Yep.
the building of his factory
of it.
here, and now
And-
because he's poured the ashes of his dead baby daughter into
Right.
the concrete, it's like no one can argue this now. This is
Nope.
like an act of heroism from this
Yep. And
kind
it's-
man.
Yeah, and it's like, well, no, that's something that a maniac does,
So-
which fits Gotham to a T,
Oh yeah.
right?
So I would suspect that whatever he was doing before that led to all this was like him doing shady stuff to try and either gain favor or at least manipulate the right people behind the scenes to make sure his plans could all go
Yeah,
to plan.
right.
Yeah.
And also, so now this has me thinking. She says he's crazy like a bat, which nobody says that, and I get why, thematically they're trying to draw that. But we're talking about, we don't know if these are actually Bruce's grandparents, right? Like, what if this is like family wise his great uncle, and whatever happens here leads to Bruce's grandpa actually taking over the family, right? And that's where Bruce comes
I'd
from.
have to go back and read issue 1
Mhm.
because I don't remember if they specifically say it's his grandfather. Like,
Right.
or if they,
You know.
they might specifically say it's Thomas Wayne's father or something like that. I can't remember.
Right.
I'd have to go back and
Okay.
read issue 1 and look at the exact
Okay.
wording of things because I don't remember.
Right. Because it feels like, it just feels like him. This is a Lex Luthor kind of plan, and that doesn't seem to gel with, like, we know Thomas becomes a doctor, and maybe his dad is that much of a terrible person, right? That's what made him split from the family business to want to help people versus being a titan of industry type,
Maybe, yeah.
But I don't know. It just feels like there's maybe some kind of twist coming up, and
I do hope them throwing in the word bat there. Like, I hope there's like some good reason for this by the end, where I'm like, okay, that wasn't just a forced thing.
yeah, because no one says crazy like a bat. I have never heard that ever.
Yeah, that was weird. Unless maybe we do something by the end of this that Slam's kind of old and he's slipping in this bat stuff like accidentally, like it's him that's doing this. He's unreliable.
Yeah, he's an old man on his deathbed just trying to tell a yarn, and this is how he remembers it, Yeah. So I don't know, but no, it's still really good film noir. Well, I shouldn't say noir, film noir, but it's very good noir.
It would surprise me if there's a moment at the end where Batman asks about the bat symbol that he said he saw. He's like, "Wait, did I say a bat? I meant owl."
And then that puts the whole book back in a different perspective now, But yeah, I keep seeing owls on everything, and I feel like there's going to be ties to that, to the court, and them at play here.
Well,
because,
we know they've been there throughout Gotham's past.
Right?
Like that would not be a weird thing to pop up,
right? And why wouldn't they have interest in the Waynes, right? As one of the founding members of Gotham, that we know. Because in every different version we do of the Gotham history, they're one of the 4 families of Gotham that's been there from the beginning. So of course they'd have something with the owls.
And Richard Wayne being behind this that led to his daughter's death, like that would maybe explain just. I mean, he'd be angry anyway, but how extra angry he is that he feels guilt that he is some ways behind this. That could be something. Maybe this Sue was like someone he was seeing, because thematically this book set up the idea of the rich men going down to the south side to get sex workers. Maybe that's what Sue is. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, and the fact that we saw in the last issue, Slam had tracked her down, through the jazz clubs and all that type of stuff. Like, she wouldn't be an easy woman to not get a hold of for someone like Richard Wayne, Yeah. So,
yeah. Yeah, maybe part of the story is just going to be that Slam was just meant to be a patsy who would fail at doing whatever they hired him to do, and that's why they picked him for this sort of job. But the unfortunate reality for Wayne is that he ends up being quite good at the job and actually gets to the bottom of things.
Right, because
So
he does care. He's not like the other people in Gotham that can look the other way.
Yeah,
is that he can't. That's part of one of his flaws. So I like that, and I definitely feel a Chinatown kind of vibe, because that is not kind of the vibe of Chinatown. It's been a while since I've seen it, but they hired Jake, almost like as a decoy from whatever else that's going on. He's supposed to be looking into something else while there's other things going on. And I'm starting to get those vibes here, especially at the end here when she brings up that she's familiar with Richard.
Yeah. So, what are you rating it?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
Yeah, I agree with that. 8.5. Yeah, nothing to add. Good issue. Poison Ivy issue 8. WIllow Wilson writing with Atagun Ilhan on the art.
Yep.
I'm probably butchering that name. I apologize. All right, you read this, Matt. Take it away.
Yeah, so change in art, which I was first thing I'm gonna say, it's not Takara, and it's a little bit sometimes closer to Rossmo. So that was a big disappointment in an otherwise really fun book, because we're finding out that earlier, I want to say it was at the end of December, so last week at this point, but Wilson had said that this book was supposed to only be a one shot, and then that one shot became a miniseries, then that miniseries became a maxi series, and then that became something else. So this is starting to feel like a piece of a bigger story that's going on with Ivy. And this feels like not that it causes the story to halt, but this picks up on threads that I feel like Wilson wasn't going to get to, that had started in that one shot. So in that one shot, and I had to go back and check this, is that when Ivy's doing the stuff in Gotham, there's a lady that works in HR that she takes mercy on and lets go. So as she gets, turned into the green, because at the end of the last issue, the one lady she's there investigating, that was not a disciple, but learned also from Woodrue, like Pam had, that she taps into the green, and turns out this lady from HR happens to be working for this company now. And through the green and through these different aspects, is able to talk the lady from HR to reminding who she was, that she, kind of owes her one now, and, is able to get her assistance. And I gotta find the name of the one, because I just don't want to call her the bad guy, but the one lady that she's there investigating, let me find this, comes across her helping Pam, and they get into a slight fight, but we find out that she did come to work, but she's been really mistreated by her, and that she's there basically working for insurance because she found out that she has a growth on her liver and that she needs this job. But the fact that, she doesn't agree with a lot of what the company is doing and how this woman has treated her, that she's going to help out Pam anyways, even if it's, at a detriment to her, because it's the right thing to do. And her boss tells her, you think that you're going to help this monster. And she's like, well, but between the two, I'd rather take my chances with this monster than you. And she frees Pam with, this basically counter agent that gets all of the, the green that was covering her, the Lamia spores and whatever. It breaks those off to where Pam's able to go chase, her name's Crawley, to chase Crawley down through her big elaborate mansion. And she chases her into the cornfield, which is, that's the thing that she was altering with this chemical. And, Pam just runs her down for saying, you're poisoning the people of the town, but you think that you're helping them, and that's all you seem to care about. And it's really Wilson commenting on how these big agricultural companies come into smaller communities and make it seem like they're doing them a favor when they're really making things worse. And that, Pam's just she's going to upset the stuff that Woodrue wanted, and that Pam was just like her at one point, and that, I can't believe how you would do this. We're trying to recreate the world for the better. But as she's talking to Pam, she says, she tells Pam, you think that you're better than everybody, but you just want to be the queen of the ashes. Like, you want to burn everything down. You think you're better than us. You're one of us, and you're a bigger problem than I am. And that's where Pam decides, like, yeah, I'm just gonna take this lady out. It's for the greater good. But then she remembers that she had promised the HR lady that she wasn't gonna kill her. So she transforms Crawley into this Lovecraftian nightmare of a plant creature that's just sitting in the cornfield now. And she's like, well, she's not dead, So it's this meeting. And Pam comes back and she's back in her human guise and in her coveralls. And the lady starts crying. She's like, yeah, well, I have nothing left now. Like, I've just jeopardized my job. I have no boss. Like, the business is going to fall apart. This is a nightmare. And now, thanks to all this, I don't have insurance. So Pam reminds her that, she went to medical school before she was into the plant stuff. That's what led her to Woodrue. And that she knows a lot of people up in the Pacific Northwest. And that let her call in some favors because they owe her some stuff. So she takes the HR lady to Seattle and gets her the surgery that she needs. And it ends with the lady waking up out of surgery. And, she goes, oh, I didn't expect you to be there, as Pam sitting next to her bed. She brings her a cactus as, as a, symbol of what they had gone through. And asks how she's feeling. And then, she asks Pam, she's gonna say, she goes, I don't know, but, I'm gonna stay here with you. And the HR goes, even if I fall asleep, she goes, I'll stay with you as long as you need me to. So just knowing what we know from what Wilson is doing with the character, it seems like the one shot they were supposed to get of her writing Ivy that introduced this HR lady, I think that was just to show that Ivy's not the same, straight out and out villain that she was, that she can't take mercy. But for her to take that thread into this book now that is, has been expanded upon, to do this story that really shows that Ivy is an anti-hero along the lines of Harley at this point, and the growth just even over 6-7 issues that we've had. It's a really, really cool, like, not that it's a task, but it's Wilson having a plan and being able to execute on that plan for the better. Because this is a book that, despite, I don't know how many people are reading it, the people that are seem to be really, really enjoying it and singing its praises. So, as an Ivy fan, that makes me very excited. And the fact that, we kind of know that she's an anti-hero, but we're feeling that journey as it unfolds, is that she had started this book as, I'm going to destroy the world with mushroom spores that turn people into zombies, to now, like, well, no, I need to save the world from the worst of it, even if that means at my own detriment. It's a real fun story. Just wish the art in this issue was better. So I'm sure Takara will be back, because that was really always a bright spot. But yeah, no, thoroughly enjoy this book. I'm gonna give this one a 7.5, and that's mainly a hit from the art, just because the art style wasn't much to my liking.
Okay. Dark Knights of Steel issue 9. Tom Taylor writing, Yasmine Putri on the art.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember when the last issue of this was. It feels like each issue's been...
It's been a minute.
I feel like ever since issue 6, each issue after that's been really spread out. Like, to the point where I forget it exists, and then it comes back, and then I have to readjust and try and remember what the hell was happening in the last issue. But the war just broke out, right? Because we had the big... It looked like Queen Hippolyta had just been murdered by Lara.
Yep. Yeah. I was gonna say, and it's not Kara, because Kara's not here, but yeah.
I was trying to remember Cal's mother's first name.
Cal's mom.
I was just so there's some big things going here. By the end of this issue, we kind of finally get an answer, because we kind of suspected there was some kind of shapeshifter with the Zala murder of the
prince.
The prince, yeah.
Well, there's that, and then the fact that Cal had attacked Bruce.
That's right. So we had multiple examples of, like, someone's not really acting in character. This feels like there's another thing.
Yep.
And we thought for a while the Green Man was going to turn it to maybe be Martian Manhunter because maybe he's the one shapeshifting. Not quite, but we weren't far off with thinking
Almost
about
there.
Martians because the end of this issue, basically, it turns out Alfred starts saying, no, this, Lara that we're seeing here, because we see that there's two Laras. Everyone distinctly sees, after a lot of fighting's been going on, that there's two Laras, and one punches the other and says, who the hell are you? And that's when Alfred comes running in, use fire, and I'm like, shit, it's a Martian. And sure enough, it's a white Martian, not a green Martian, a white Martian. And the ending reveal is that this isn't really Alfred. This is actually J'onn J'onzz pretending to be Alfred. And he's like, I didn't realize that the last survivor was here.
Already here.
Yeah. So, big thing. And obviously you've got Green Lantern Joker up in the sky, who basically enjoys killing people during the fight, but decides to bolt at the end when he realizes, shit, they're onto what's going on here.
This is beyond me. Yeah.
I'm getting out of here.
Me.
So, okay, big revelation. That was a fun time. It's kind of like, one of the main things that's been fun about this book is the weird twists it's taken of like, oh, this is who's really like here and who's really the villain and who's really, like how do these characters fit into this version of the world, right? That was fun. That felt like a very Deceased reveal to me as well. This feels like something that could have been in Deceased. So yeah, and some of the characters are kind of piecing together. Even Constantine's admitting that it feels like we're being conned here somehow. Something's not quite right.
It was, because he's talking about his prophecy, but prophecies don't always hit 100%.
Yeah.
And so so now he's starting to realize that maybe he's been played. And so it's like, now it's one of these things. It's like, well, who else has the White Martians played? Like, have they, are they the reason? Like, did they play Waller? And is that why Waller's been okay with locking everybody up?
And the question I'd have is, okay, but why are the White Martians, or this, at least this one White Martian, I don't know if it's just the one or multiple, but why do this? Like, what do they care? What's the end goal here exactly? Other than just to like make everyone destroy themselves? Is it just to take over Earth? Is it that simple? Just have all these powerful factions destroy each other and then we can waltz in and take control?
Yeah. Well, because that's what it is, right? It's chaos is a ladder, and these sides were already at a tenuous, the Kingdom of Storms and then the House of El were already on this precipice because of what Bruce was doing with all the powered people, and it built distrust. So all it needed was a little push, and this little push from the White Martians sent everybody to war.
Quoting Joker from Dark Knight there,
just a little bit, right? Yeah. And this is what happens. And so just the fact too that we get the House of El isn't this power hungry, like we might have thought. They've been being played against each other using their images.
Also, I should actually say here, it's probably J'onn J'onzz, but we don't actually know that it is him at the end. We just know it's a Green Martian, right? So technically, this could be another Green Martian. Just for full, it's probably just J'onn J'onzz.
Right. I mean, however, we don't know too many other.
No, but I'm thinking that maybe in this, Earth, it's a different Martian survived. It wasn't.
True. Not just.
I honestly think it will be. I'm just putting that out there that technically this could turn out to be, I don't know, Jack Jammies or something.
But yeah, so it was such a good reveal, and just with all of the stuff that's going on, because this just whipped through all of these different pieces of the war going on. And then when we get to Lara going to the dungeons, and you have Canary and Arrow in there, and Ollie is show me what you can do, show me how you sing, so they can get out. I thought that was such a good scene. And then he's like, how are you gonna fire a bow? You're missing an arm. Or how am I going to fire a bow? She goes, use a crossbow. And he goes, that's perfect. There's a lot of fun little moments like that.
Do White Martians have heat vision?
I think they have all of the same abilities as the Martians, and I don't think the Martians do have heat vision.
So that's real Lara who's heat visioning Killer Shark?
It must be. Let me look. Let me look up the White Martians first, because because Miss Martian, who, spoiler alert if you guys don't know this, is a white Martian, but she wants to be good, right? Like so she masquerades as a green Martian, as Jean's niece. I believe they have all the same abilities. They're just their culture was more conquering.
Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I assumed that it was the evil Lara who killed Killer Shark, especially since she says before she does it, "I am simply here to remove threats to my people," and then, like, you know, burns them with her eyes.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wait, can a white Martian do that?
Right. No, you're right. So I'm checking here, but maybe that's part of it. Maybe they did get Lara on their side, you know, as one of these things. You know, and that's what the threat to her people are, you know, because they've shown like they don't trust the L's enough to go to war. I don't know. I'm just looking for. I'm rationalizing at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that'll be cleared up as we go. And maybe that's just a victim of it.
Right.
There's so many delays between issues that I just don't remember details enough to, like, remember why she would do that if it is really just her.
So it says that they do have heat vision.
Oh, there you go.
According to the wiki.
In that case, it's just a white Martian. Then it's just a white Martian removing powerful threats. Okay. Right. That's fair enough.
Right.
So yeah, Oliver's only got one arm, remember, so he's using a crossbow now. So fun stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I really like that dynamic between them, you know. But I say this all the time when Tom Taylor writes Canary and Arrow, is he really has their banter down.
Oh, for sure,
yeah. So it's always a pleasure to read.
Yeah, and Batman's there. He rode in on Dragon during the fight, because obviously we knew he was with the Kents last time we saw him.
Right, and also when he goes after Cal, he goes, "Brother, you attacked me," and that's the first piece that we get. Like, Cal's like, "I did not. What are you going on about?" You know. So
well, you would hope next issue is them realizing, okay, Alfred / Martian Manhunter is explaining that they're shapeshifters, and that can make them look back at all these events in the book and go, wait a minute, all of a sudden this makes a lot more sense if there's this third party who's pretending to be various people at various times. It's a quick read. I mean, if I have a critique of it, it's that because most of it's just the big battle, is that it just goes by so quickly and there's not really that much plot. Although obviously the ending's a big plot advancement, don't get me wrong, like it does something big by the end. But most of the issue is very much the fight on the battleground and the various characters getting into it. Good ending though. I can't deny the ending was a lot of fun.
I was not expecting the White Martians whatsoever. Right, I'm thinking this is just a fantasy style story of kingdoms at war, and that we're gonna find out that, like, these people at the top make the decisions, but it's the people like the Kents, taking in the orphans and doing all that stuff.
I mean, I never said white Martians, but I was speculating a Martian.
Yeah,
quite early on,
because we brought up shapeshifters.
Yeah, and I think the reason why the white Martians worked so well as a twist here is because it's not really that different from a green Martian or the idea that Martian Manhunter may be evil on this earth. It's just that white Martians are the lesser used one, right? So you don't necessarily think of them first. So this feels like, again, much like we've seen a lot in Deceased with Tom Taylor, is he's spotlighting like a part of the DCU that he probably likes that doesn't get as much attention or love as normal. So
I just learning about when I was reading comics about the White Martians and the whole idea of they were the warlike ones, and that there was they had gotten locked away by the Green Martians, and then when the planet, when Mars died, effectively, there was this lost group of them, and they come to Earth and masquerade as the Hyper Clan, and just this whole there's this whole piece of DC lore that I had not known, and it fits in very well.
It's why I don't like when they try and change or versions of Krypton's like demise is a bit more like warring factions. I like that Krypton feels more like, no, this was a climate change thing, and there's obviously debates on two sides about it happening as it would be, but I think Mars being this was a direct war with like one powerful side who were trying to enslave the other, and it it led to the demise. I like that those are very different versions of the worlds. Ultimately, I mean, Mars, the planet's not gone; it's still there, but it's the civilization on it's gone.
The Martian culture is gone.
Yeah.
Right. But no. So the fact that this was, that group, and I was not suspecting them. So we get that reveal, and then we get, that Alfred is a Green Martian. I think that's really cool because
Probably,
of course
probably Jean.
right, but of course he got in, and he's the caretaker to to the Waynes or whatever. He got himself into a position to where, if need be, there were defenses if the White Martians did show up.
Do you think we get a backstory next issue as to what happened to the real Alfred? Like when it changed from being Alfred to being Jean?
Right.
Yeah.
Probably. We'll get what brought him here because, traditionally it's a very sci-fi thing that, the radio, transporter type thing. He gets caught up in that and is brought to Earth and gives the scientist a heart attack, and then that's, how he's able to blend in and stuff. I'm sure we'll get a very fantasy style version of that. Maybe he's a castaway of some kind. I don't know, but it would make sense why when he was with the Waynes, if this is him, why they were so accepting of the L's, right? Because if let's just call him Jean. If Jean's masquerading as Alfred and is in the ears of the Waynes, I could see that him helping that along because they're aliens just like him.
To be fair, the people might also be suspicious of him because they might not accept because the idea is he's got a lot of influence where he is, whispering in the people's ears that he does whisper in. So maybe they'll think he's also trying to just not do it by force, but he's trying to manipulate things for his side. But I don't know. We'll see.
It's a nice. It really freshened up the story in a fun way. And now you feel like they're gonna have to line up on the side because I'm sure there's gonna be more White Martians because he said what he thought was the survivor, right? What was his words?
He says, "You knew I was a survivor of a dead world, but I never told you something else."
Gotcha. Yeah. So, but maybe there's more White Martians, and this is gonna lead, this Earth versus the White Martians, in the final 3 issues. So, and I'm here for that.
Yeah, this turned out to be a White Martian invasion, secret invasion style story. is an interesting direction. I like it.
Yep.
All right, what are you giving this issue?
I'm giving this an 8.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with a 7, just because it does feel like it's just most of the big battle, but the ending is very good, and I like the reveal and the direction that's going in there. Green Lantern Joker's still a bit wacky for my taste, but we'll see.
It's a hat on a hat scenario.
Yeah. So there you go. That is it. I was going to do a Patreon book, but I forgot what time we were recording, and I had to quickly rush 2 of the books I did read before we start. So I will catch up on Patreon books next week. But that'll take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favorites of the week for it: panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and usually top 5. But in this case, I'll just be ranking whatever we read because there wasn't enough books.
All 4.
So what was your panel/moment of the week?
It's gonna be the White Martian reveal in that book. I'm drawing a blank on it. The Tom Taylor book.
Dark Knights of Steel.
There we go. Dark Knights of Steel.
There you go.
There we go.
Not doing well with titles today, are you?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I feel like there's probably something in Gotham City Year 1 that I would.
My runner-up, if it helps jog your memory a little, in the Gotham City Year 1, the big kiss that happens with the background, that's pretty good. Also create, the final panel of showing Richard Wayne. That's a pretty big moment.
I'll say the gun standoff where he lets him go. I just saved your life. I'll go with that moment. That had a good dramatic beat to it. All right, cover of the week. There's a nice Art Germ cover for Batman, but I gotta go just the regular Gotham City Year 1 cover.
It's pretty good. I'm checking the variants on that because I already have an answer. I got it when I picked up my books.
It's a Poison Ivy cover.
Yeah. How would you know?
I haven't even looked at it.
The Yannon variant. See the Yannon variant in Gotham City?
I did see it. It's not bad.
It's pretty good. But yeah, no, it's the Jenny Frisian Ivy cover.
I'm shocked.
Very fantastic. Yes.
Shocked. All right. Art of the week.
I'm gonna go with Gotham City Year 1. I thought Hester's doing a lot of good work on this one, especially this issue. with what he was doing with a lot of the shadows.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Hester. I do think Putri is obviously solid in Darkness of Steel, but I think Hester's just a bit more standout. And the style's very consistent and all that. All right, rank your books.
All right, so number 1's going to be Gotham City Year 1. 2 is going to be Dark Knights of Steel. 3 is going to be Poison Ivy. 4 is going to be Batman.
Yeah, my number 1 is Gotham City Year 1, and then I'm kind of conflicted over my other 2, because I guess I'm not. It's probably Dark Knights of Steel at number 2, and then Batman at number 3. But I gave them both 7s, so they're not like a million miles apart. So, all right, there you go. I'll tell you what's coming next week. Although remember that next up is the annual episode. We pick favorites, and remember to go vote on the audience choice part of it. Link in the description, and also on Discord and on Twitter. But coming next week from DC Comics for the next regular episode, we have The Flash 790, Wonder Woman 795, The Human Target issue 10, Batman Urban Legends issue 23, Batman and the Joker, The Deadly Duo issue 3, I Am Batman 27, Lazarus Planet Alpha issue 1, so we're kicking off that kind of mini event thing.
Yeah.
Danger Street issue 2. We have 2 Tom King books next week. Jesus. All right. Next week's a big week all of a sudden. Batman Incorporated issue 4, Wildcats issue 3, Batman The Adventure Continues season 3 issue 1, the Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries issue 4, and Looney Tunes issue 270. So yeah, it's not like a huge number of books, but Danger Street and Human Target in the same week's a meaty bit of discussion. I only actually have 4 books though, if I actually count them.
Yeah, I Flash, Human Target, Lazarus Planet, Danger Street, and Wildcats. So.
Yep. Oh, 5, yeah, Wildcats, sorry.
5. But yeah, and we got Nort in Human Target on the cover. Excited to see how King does that Green Lantern, because Nort's always a silly one. So let's see how he fits in with this version. Oh goodness, those variants also. I
suspect easily, just given the book so far. But yeah, so that's what's coming next week. And I said this would be a short episode, and it kind of is, because we're only just hitting 90 minutes, but that's actually still meatier than I thought it would be, given that it was only 4 books. But hopefully you enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, you can support us at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and maybe get early access to an episode when it's done on a Saturday, although this one's a day later than normal. So it'll be late Sunday for patrons and then Monday for everyone else. But look forwards to that. I don't know why I'm saying look forward to that. That's this episode. You're already hearing it that's a stupid statement. Look forward to the annual episode. And of course you can support us for free by liking, subscribing, dinging the bell on YouTube, or rating us on your podcast app, iTunes, most common one. Give us 5 stars, all that stuff. Helps us out a bunch. And make sure you go vote as quickly as possible in the DC Awards, which we will reveal the winners of, along with our own discussions and picks in the annual episode coming before the next regular one. So thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics. Oh, and I'll thank the Patreon producers. I almost forgot to that. Thank you very much to Tyler Hester, De Placius, David Sharp, Borden, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Al Tradesman for being producers. You're all welcome. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Keep reading DC Comics and never get lost in the Speed Force.